Hey, what's up guys? It's Phoenix Toast of NFL Blitz Mode. Today I will be showing you my predictions for the first round of the NFL playoffs. The first matchup of the NFL playoffs is the Buccaneers versus the Washington football team. You might be thinking, wasn't it the Washington Redskins? If you haven't been keeping up to date, it's now the Washington football team because they decided Redskins was too offensive, or not offensive, but people didn't like it. But they couldn't find a name, so they just say it's the Washington football team. So weird. The Buccaneers will win. I think the Buccaneers will win because they have just better players. Like, Washington has Alex Smith at quarterback. You're like, who's that? And then the Buccaneers have Tom Brady. You're like, oh, Tom Brady, the guy who won all those Super Bowls? Yeah, I know him. Jeez. I know who Tom Brady is. Yeah, so, it just, nobody knows who's on the Washington football team except pros like me. So, they have players like Tom Brady and Robert Gronkowski. You're like, oh, isn't that his old teammate from the Patriots? He came out of retirement. Anything's possible. They're doing pretty good. Tom Brady has better numbers than 3 out of 4 of his Super Bowl runs or seasons. Like, Tom Brady had 4 Super Bowl appearances, and not 4. 4 of his Super Bowl wins, 3 of them, Tom Brady has better numbers this season than he did then. Kind of crazy, right? Next matchup is the Seahawks versus the Rams. The Rams and the Seahawks have already played twice this season. The Rams beat their first meeting 23-16. The Seahawks won their second meeting in Week 16 in the 2020 season. They beat them by 11 points. 1-1. 1-1. Oh, that's pretty fair. The Seahawks get the divider because they won the second round, and somehow that makes sense. So, I think the Seahawks are going to win. One, because I love the Seahawks, even though I'm wearing a Chiefs shirt. They get the first round bye, so they're not playing because they're too good. They're too overpowered. The Seahawks defense may be last in passing, and they're still pretty crappy at that. But their defense has, since Week 8, has been so phenomenal. It's like first place in everything. Next matchup is the Ravens versus the Titans. The Titans have beat the Ravens a lot. I mean, not that much. They beat them twice in the last year, 2 years. So you're like, well, that's not too much. That's with Lamar Jackson. If you know who Lamar Jackson is, you're like, that's a big surprise. If you remember 2 years ago in the last playoffs, the Titans surprised everybody and said, you think Lamar Jackson's good? We have Derrick Henry. If you guys see my last video, click up here, and you can see my Derrick Henry video and see how much of a beast he is. I mean, he's truly unstoppable. Like I say in that video, well, you can see. And then in this year, they beat them in OT. So they beat them in overtime with, guess who? Derrick Henry touchdown run. No surprise, right? It's Derrick Henry. I mean, come on, it's Derrick Henry. Next matchup is the Browns versus the Steelers. The Browns and the Steelers played this last Sunday. You're like, wow. Jeez. People don't have good time planning the playoffs. So, the Browns will probably beat them again. They just have better players. They have players like Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, and everybody gets chubbed by Nick Chubb. That's a weird thing to say, but that's his last name, Nick Chubb. He chubs them. Together, I think they can bring down the Steelers. And it's also kind of a battle of the defenses. Like, the Steelers have a good defense, the Browns have a good defense, they both have mediocre offenses. They're just going to be going at each other every day, or all day. The next matchup, which is probably I'm most excited for, is the Colts versus the Bills. These two teams have both been phenomenal. The Colts, well, they're less phenomenal than the Bills. The Bills have been out of this world good. But the Colts will put up a good fight. They have they're in the top 5 rated defense. I think the Bills will take the dub because they have players like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde. I know their defense isn't that good, and if you want to check out my friend Andy Chang's videos about all the Bills stuff, you can click up here. There's his channel. And the Bills are just overall a better team. Last, and this is not a very exciting matchup. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. Nah, whatever. It's the Saints versus the Bears. The Bears barely made it the playoffs, the 7th seed. You're like, if you know a lot about football, you know there's only 6 seeds. This year they added 2 seeds to the AFC and the NFC, which were 2 of my favorite players. NFC, Russell Wilson. AFC, Patrick Mahomes. They both made it to the Pro Bowl. Let's go. Saints will blow them out because they have players like Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara. If you saw last game against the Vikings, I think, maybe last game, maybe 2 games ago, he set the NFL record for rushing touchdowns with 6 rushing touchdowns. That's just outrageous. I mean, 6 rushing touchdowns. Come on. That's pretty crazy. And their defense is like the number 1 rated defense. They also have Marshawn Lattimore, their best cornerback. Thanks for watching my videos. If you want to see more videos, go to my channel in the description below. Or you can just hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, go to all. Then all my videos I post will pop up on your phone or iPad or whatever you're watching this on. And I'll see you next time.